Everything burns at Godolkin University. Screams echo through the hallways, alarms blaring, blood dripping down the walls. This isn't just another chaotic episode. This is the moment Gen V finally loses control. Hell Week lives up to its name. And beneath all the madness, a secret that connects straight to The Boys Season 5 is quietly exploding in plain sight. What if this entire breakdown, every betrayal, every death, was part of Vought's master plan to build something even worse than Homelander? Let's dig in, because Episode 7 doesn't just blow things up, it rewrites everything we thought we knew about the Boys universe. The episode opens in the middle of a war zone that used to be a college. Godolkin isn't a campus anymore. It's a battlefield soaked in fear and regret. Students, once influencers and dreamers, are now weapons unleashed by the chaos of Compound V. There's smoke everywhere. The camera shakes like the world itself is trembling. And in the middle of it all, Marie stands, blood dripping from her hands, staring at what she's just done. Her powers aren't a gift anymore. They're a curse that's taken control. Every frame feels heavy, like the air itself is screaming. It's not about saving anyone now, it's about surviving what's left. You can feel the shift in tone immediately. Gen V started as a satire about fame-hungry young soups, but now it's pure tragedy. The Hell Week title isn't just about physical chaos. It's about the psychological meltdown of every character. The walls between hero and villain have completely disappeared. Kate, once the calm manipulator, has lost all sense of morality. Her ability to control minds is now the scariest weapon in the show, and not because of the power itself, but because of how numb she's become to using it. There's one haunting moment where she wipes the memory of a student begging for help, and for a second, even she realizes what she's becoming. That single look of guilt vanishes fast, replaced by anger. This is Kate's breaking point, and the show wants you to feel it. Meanwhile, Sam's spiral continues. He's unpredictable, dangerous, and almost childlike in the way he clings to his rage. His story is heartbreaking because it's not about evil, it's about trauma. Every decision he makes feels like an echo of the torture he went through in the woods. When he attacks the guards, it's not out of heroism or justice. It's because he's desperate to silence the voices in his head. The directors make it personal, close-up shots, quiet moments before every violent outburst, showing that he's not a monster. He's a mirror of what Vought created. That's the terrifying part. Gen V doesn't need new villains. The villains are already inside these kids' as the chaos grows. Small details start connecting this episode. To The Boys, the TV screens in the background show Vought News Network, spinning the story, calling it a student. Protest turned violent, the same propaganda tactic used during The Boys Season 3 when Homelander massacred a crowd. It's subtle, but it's the first clue that Vought is already rewriting the narrative in real time. You realize then that this entire disaster might not be an accident. Someone wanted this to happen. Someone higher up at Vought is using Godolkin as a testing ground for control, to see how far young soups can be pushed before they break completely. Marie's role becomes central here. She's torn between helping her friends and confronting the truth. She's not a perfect hero. She's scared, angry, and confused, which makes her feel real. When she sees her blood manipulate itself like it has its own mind, it's symbolic. The power that once made her special now frightens her. Every drop of blood is both life and death, a reminder of how fragile everything is. That's what makes this episode so emotional. It's not just action for the sake of spectacle. It's a study of broken people trying to survive in a system designed to exploit them. The cinematography in Episode 7 deserves its own praise. Every shot feels chaotic but deliberate, like you're watching the fall of innocence frame by frame. The lighting shifts between red and blue, mirroring the battle between morality and madness. There's a long tracking shot through the rec dorm hallway that captures the hopelessness perfectly. You see the destruction not just in buildings but in faces, fear, confusion, betrayal. No dialogue needed. It's pure visual storytelling, and it works. By the end of this section of the episode, you can tell this is no longer a campus drama. It's the beginning of something much bigger. The show isn't just setting up the Gen V finale, it's laying the groundwork for The Boys Season 5. The chaos at Godolkin is a warning shot. It's Vought testing the limits of chaos, experimenting with who can control fear better, the soups or the people behind them. And the terrifying answer might be, neither. The madness of Hell Week doesn't slow down, it escalates. Every scene in Episode 7 feels like a new explosion, not just of action, but of truth. The first big WTF moment hits when the surviving students realize that the woods was never fully destroyed. We were all led to believe that it was wiped out last season, burned to the ground, but it's still there, buried deeper, rebuilt, and now worse than before. It's a chilling reminder that Vought never loses control. They just changed the experiment. The reveal hits hard because it doesn't come with a dramatic announcement. It's shown in a single haunting shot. The camera pans down through the ruined floorboards. And beneath the wreckage, the woods lights are still glowing. Silent, alive, waiting, the second jaw dropper comes from Kate. Her arc in this episode is pure chaos wrapped in tragedy. For a brief moment, she becomes the dictator of Godolkin. Using her powers, she takes control of the entire student body, forcing everyone to see the truth. It's like Charles Xavier gone completely rogue. What's truly unsettling is how calm she is while doing it. Her eyes don't even blink as dozens of students march under her command. It's one of those moments where the line between savior and tyrant disappears completely. You start questioning if she's the villain or just the product of a world that broke her. And when Jordan tries to stop her, Kate's power overpowers even their dual-form strength. The look of shock and betrayal between them says more than any dialogue could. It's painful because they were friends, maybe even something more. Now they're enemies by survival. But the real heart-stopping twist comes halfway through the episode. When a figure steps out of the chaos, someone fans have been waiting to see. It's Grace Mallory, the ex-CIA handler from The Boys. Her sudden arrival connects the dots between the chaos at Godolkin and the bigger war brewing outside. She's there not to save anyone, but to assess the damage. This isn't a school anymore, she says coldly. It's a breeding ground. That single line ties Gen V directly into The Boys Season 5, confirming that the government and Vought are both watching, both manipulating, both ready to weaponize these kids. Mallory's presence changes everything. She's the bridge between both shows. And her arrival means the stakes are no longer contained to Godolkins. Whilst another wild moment comes when Marie discovers the hidden lab inside the medical wing, secret Vought experiment running under the school's main hospital. Inside, rows of empty pods line the room, each tagged with student names. The files hint that Vought has been collecting DNA samples from every student since day one. They're not teaching these kids to be heroes. They're farming them. It's a horrifying realization that flips the entire premise of the show. And if you freeze the frame at just the right second, there's a subtle Easter egg, a file labeled H01 fans instantly recognize. It as a nod to Homelander's test number from The Boys Season 1. That means whatever is happening here is part of the same genetic project that created the world's most dangerous soup. That's not just a callback. It's a warning that history is repeating itself. Then comes the most disturbing scene of the entire episode, the mirror sequence. Sam, covered in blood, walks into a hallway lined with mirrors, and every reflection shows a different version of himself. A scared boy, a furious soldier, a broken experiment. It's psychological and haunting. The show slows the pacing here, letting the silence build tension. You can almost hear his mind fracturing when he punches the mirror and screams, "You made me this way." It's not just a breakdown. It's the thesis of the entire show. Every character is a reflection of what Vought has created. Power without purpose, fame without identity, and rage without direction. It's easily one of the most emotionally charged scenes in the series so far. Just when the episode seems to find a rhythm, it throws one last curveball, the mid-credits reveal. Yes, Gen V pulled a Marvel move. A hidden scene shows Homelander himself watching the chaos at Godolkin on a massive screen. He doesn't say a word. He just smirks, then turns to someone off camera and says, "Let them burn." We'll see who survives. That's it. No context, no explanation, just pure dread. It's the perfect teaser for The Boys Season 5. It suggests that Homelander sees Godolkin as a test, a chance to see which of these young soups are strong enough to join his new order. This isn't just a crossover tease. It's a declaration of war. By the time the credits roll, your brain's spinning. Every revelation is layered with meaning: Kate's control, Mallory's reappearance, the Wood's survival, and that chilling Homelander cameo. Episode 7 isn't just the setup for a finale. It's the breaking point of the entire Gen V universe. It forces you to question everything: who's truly in control, what's real, and what's manipulation. It's chaos with purpose. Every WTF moment builds toward a single terrifying idea. Vought isn't losing power. They're evolving it. And if this is what Hell Week looks like, then The Boys Season 5 might just be the apocalypse. You might think Episode 7 is all blood, betrayal, and chaos. But underneath that madness, the show hides a treasure chest of clues. Blink once and you'll miss them. But together they tell a bigger story. Hell Week isn't just about Godolkin falling apart. It's about how Vought has been planning for this all along. And the show's creators made sure to leave a trail of hints for fans smart enough to look closer. Let's start with the most subtle one: the Vought propaganda posters plastered across the ruined hallways. When the students run through the wreckage, the camera briefly lingers on a torn poster that reads, "Believe in the V." It looks like an ordinary slogan at first, but the font and color design are identical to the ones used in The Boys Season 3 during Homelander's rallies. It's a clever way of showing how the same marketing team is behind both propaganda campaigns, one for public control and one for internal loyalty. Vought isn't just a company. It's a religion disguised as a brand. Every student at Godolkin has been baptized in it since the day they enrolled. Another blink and you will miss it moment happens during the chaos in the cafeteria. There's a shattered TV screen still playing an old news report from Vought News Network. If you pause at the right frame, the chyron at the bottom reads, "Homelander to make public statement on the Godolkin tragedy." That line confirms that The Boys timeline is officially synced with Gen V Season 2, meaning this episode takes place just before The Boys Season 5 begins. It's a timeline bridge disguised as a background detail. The writers didn't announce this crossover. They buried it in static on a broken TV. That's the kind of storytelling that rewards fans who pay attention. Then comes a smaller Easter egg that only longtime The Boys fans might catch: a sound cue. When the guards chase Sam through the tunnels, the background score subtly shifts into a dark remix of America's Son, the same patriotic theme used whenever Homelander appears in The Boys. It's faint, almost hidden beneath the sound of alarms, but it's there. It's symbolic. Sam is becoming what Vought always wanted Homelander to be: unstable, powerful, and utterly broken. It's musical foreshadowing done perfectly. Another incredible detail hides in the background of the hospital lab scene where Marie finds the DNA pods. On one of the monitors, there's a data file open labeled Project Temp V+. That name might sound familiar. It's the upgraded version of temporary compound V that The Boys used in Season 3. If Vought is experimenting with the plus version, that means they're creating a new formula that could make soups even more dangerous, possibly even permanent. And that's terrifying because it means what Butcher used was only a prototype. Godolkin might be the testing site for what comes next: an army of hybrid soups who don't need injections. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping Easter egg comes in a small, dusty photo frame hidden behind a cracked window in Dean Shetty's old office. The camera passes by it for less than a second, but if you pause and zoom in, you can see two familiar faces: Dr. Jonah Vogelbaum and a younger Grace Mallory. That single image confirms that Shetty was connected to the original scientists who created Homelander. It's not just a visual reference, it's history. It means Godolkin's founding was directly linked to the earliest Compound V experiments. The show is telling us that this chaos didn't start with the students. It started decades ago. And these kids were always destined to repeat it. And for fans of the boys' dark humor, there's a slight Easter egg hidden in the background of the destroyed dorm hallway. A broken vending machine reads Dawn of the Seven energy drink, now 25% stronger. It's a parody of the fake movie from The Boys about Homelander and Starlight. The fact that it's sitting in ruins perfectly symbolizes the decay of Vought's shiny public image. Everything they built for marketing and fame is crumbling, literally. There's also an emotional Easter egg buried in one of Marie's flashback scenes. When she remembers her parents, the wallpaper behind her is covered in blue stars, the same pattern as the baby blanket Homelander was wrapped in at Vogelbaum's lab. It's such a small detail that most people won't even notice it, but it connects Marie and Homelander in a symbolic way. Both were born into trauma, both shaped by blood, and both manipulated by people who saw them as products instead of humans. It's quiet, heartbreaking storytelling that says more than a whole monologue ever could. Finally, the biggest Easter egg of all, the book on the professor's desk during the final classroom scene before the credits. The title, God Among Monsters, a study of V-powered psychology. That's the same book seen on the shelf in The Boys season 4 episode where Starlight hides from Vought agents. It's a recurring prop used across both shows, and it connects the themes perfectly. That power doesn't just corrupt, it isolates. The book's subtitle, The Myth of the Savior, appears clearly in the shot. As if the writers are whispering a message straight to the audience, there are no heroes here. Only survivors. Every one of these details adds depth to the chaos. They remind us that Gen V and the boys aren't separate stories. They're two halves of the same monster. Episode 7 hides all these secrets in the background because the world of Vought operates in the shadows. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It's not about what you see, it's about what you miss. And if episode 7 is this full of hidden clues, then the finale is going to explode with answers we're not ready for. By the end of Hell Week, one thing becomes clear. This episode isn't just a Gen V story anymore. It's the beginning of something much larger. The chaos at Godolkin is the first domino to fall in a chain that leads straight into The Boys Season 5. Everything that happens here, every explosion, every betrayal, every secret file, feels like a calculated step toward a darker future. Vought didn't lose control. It evolved its control. The kids think they've escaped the system, but in reality, they've just entered the next phase of the experiment. The biggest setup comes through Vought's manipulation of the media. While the campus is burning, Vought News Network is already spinning the story, calling the massacre an isolated student riot. This mirrors how the boys handled the Stormfront scandal, rewrite the narrative, bury the bodies, sell a new version of the truth. The subtle message: Vought is untouchable. No matter how much chaos breaks out, they always come out looking like saviors. That's the same tactic Homelander uses on the public: smile, pose, and pretend nothing happened. The overlap between the two stories shows how the corruption is no longer just corporate. It's systemic. Gen 5 is showing us how new generations are trained to become propaganda tools before they even realize their weapons. Then there's the secret lab. Revelation, the discovery of Project Temp V+. This isn't just a callback. It's a preview of the next arms race. In The Boys Season 5, that formula could easily become the foundation for a global war. Imagine a world where soldiers don't just use Compound V. They are Compound V. That's what Vought wants: full control over creation, evolution, and extinction. Gen V hints that Vought scientists aren't just working for profit anymore. They're chasing perfection. They're trying to make the next Homelander one that doesn't question orders or morality. Episode 7 ends with those lab files being stolen, and whoever took them might be the most dangerous person alive. That mystery alone could fuel an entire season of The Boys. Another major link is Grace Mallory's reappearance. Her brief scene may feel small, but it changes everything. In The Boys, she's always been the moral anchor, the one trying to hold the world together while everyone else falls apart. Her arrival at Godolkin suggests the government is now directly involved in Vought's youth experiments. She's seen what happens when soups go unchecked, and now she's watching it happen all over again. Her quiet reaction, that cold, almost defeated look, says more than words could. It's a setup for her next confrontation with Butcher. If she brings this information to him in Season 5, that could reignite his mission against Vought. Gen V is essentially giving the boys a new reason to go to war. And let's talk about Homelander's mid-credits cameo short, but world-changing. His single line, "Let them burn. We'll see who survives," isn't just arrogance. It's strategy. It suggests that he's watching, testing, planning. Homelander doesn't see Godolkin as a tragedy. He sees it as an audition. He's looking for the strongest, most ruthless young soups to recruit into his new order. In The Boys Season 4, he began turning public opinion in his favor. In Season 5, he'll want an army. Gen V Episode 7 shows us where that army might come from. It's a terrifying thought, Homelander backed by a generation of unstable, V-enhanced kids who worship him like a god. But beyond characters and plot, the deeper setup lies in themes. Gen V exposes how corruption doesn't die, it mutates. Every generation of heroes is born thinking they're different, that they'll be the ones to fix the world. But Vought's system is a loop. They break you, rebuild you, and sell you back as a symbol. That's the cycle The Boys Season 5 will explore, not just physical wars, but psychological ones. The conflict won't just be between soups and humans anymore. It'll be between truth and illusion. The idea that the heroes might actually be the biggest victims is the emotional core of this entire universe. Episode 7 also hints at a new alliance forming in the shadows. When Marie, Jordan, and Andre finally regroup at the end, their conversation about exposing Vought feels unfinished, but loaded. The camera lingers on Marie's face as she says, "We can't fight them alone." That's not just a line of fear, it's a setup for a crossover. It suggests that these young soups might join forces with Starlight's resistance group in The Boys Season 5. Imagine that, a team of broken students joining rebels like Huey, Starlight, and Kimiko. The next season could become a generational war, the old guard versus the new, both trapped in Vought's grip but fighting from different sides. There's also a quiet but important visual hint in the episode's final shot, a drone flying above the burning campus, its lens reflecting the chaos below. That same drone model appears in The Boys whenever the government monitors soup incidents. It's a silent signal that the walls between both shows are collapsing. The world of The Boys is no longer just about a few celebrities with powers. It's about total control, surveillance, and manipulation. Godolkin was the test lab. The real world is next. In the end, Hell Week feels less like a penultimate episode and more like a prophecy. The seeds planted here, Project Temp V+, Homelander's watchful eye, Grace Mallory's return, and the student survivors are all pointing toward an inevitable storm. The Boys Season 5 isn't just coming. It's already started here. Vought's system is cracking, heroes are rebelling, and the truth is bleeding out, literally and metaphorically. When that next season begins, it won't start with peace, it'll start with fire. And Episode 7 is the match that lit the fuse beneath all the blood, chaos, and explosions. Hell Week is more than just a shocking episode. It's a story about what power does to people who never asked for it. From the first minute to the last, every frame screams one message: no one stays innocent when they live inside Vought's world. The show uses the destruction of Godolkin University not just as a setting for action, but as a symbol of something much darker, the collapse of hope. These kids were supposed to be the next generation of heroes. Instead, they become proof that power always corrupts, no matter how pure your intentions are. The most powerful theme running through Episode 7 is control versus freedom. Everyone in this episode thinks they're making choices, but every decision is still part of Vought's experiment. Marie believes she's finally standing up for herself, but she's fighting in a system designed to make her fight. Kate thinks she's freeing people by forcing them to see the truth, but she's just becoming another manipulator. Even Sam, who rages against everything, is still reacting to what Vought made him. That's the genius of Gen V. It shows how even rebellion can be manufactured. In this world, freedom is an illusion sold by people who already own you. Then there's the theme of identity and manipulation. The young Soups have grown up believing they're special, chosen, and destined for greatness. But episode 7 strips that fantasy bare. When Marie discovers her blood powers come from genetic modification, her entire sense of self collapses. It's not destiny. It's design. She's not a hero. She's a product. That idea echoes through every character. Kate, Sam, Jordan, Andre, all of them are wrestling with the same horrifying truth. Their lives are scripted, their emotions tested, and their powers weaponized. The moment they realize it, they all start breaking in different ways. The show uses their collapse to mirror our obsession with fame and validation. Godolkin University isn't just a school for Soups. It's a metaphor for social media culture, where everyone is competing to be noticed. Even if it destroys them, another layer of Hell Week lies in its portrayal of trauma and exploitation. The camera never lets you look away from how deeply damaged these characters are. Every scream, every flashback, every breakdown feels painfully human. It's easy to forget you're watching a show about superheroes because the emotions are so raw. When Sam looks into the mirror and sees different versions of himself, it's not just a hallucination. It's a visual metaphor for what trauma does. It fragments identity until you don't know who you are anymore. That's why Gen V feels more personal than The Boys. The main show exposes corruption from the top down. Gen V shows it from the inside out through the eyes of victims who never got a choice. The writing also explores the cycle of violence. The show doesn't glorify the blood or chaos. It shows how violence becomes the only language these characters understand. Marie's powers literally come from blood. Every time she uses them, she's hurting herself. It's poetic and tragic. Her strength is also her wound. The show's creators use that symbolism to comment on the larger idea of how trauma passes from one generation to the next. The same way Homelander was shaped by Vogelbaum's lab, these kids are being shaped by Vought's labs. The abuse is continuous, invisible, and systematic. It's not about one villain. It's about the entire machine. Episode 7 also hits hard with the theme of morality without guidance. Unlike The Boys, where figures like Butcher and Huey act as moral compasses even if flawed, Gen V's young characters are completely alone. They have no mentors, no safe adults, no one to tell them what's right. It's terrifying because it feels real, a generation raised by corporations instead of people. When Kate loses control and forces her classmates to obey her, it's not because she's evil. It's because she's desperate for order in a world that only taught her chaos. That moment sums up the entire show. The victims have learned the tactics of their abusers, and they think control equals safety. One of the quietest, but most important themes is the illusion of heroism. Vought teaches these kids that heroes save lives, but the truth is, every hero they know was built on a lie. The posters, the ratings, the sponsorships, all fake. By the time the credits roll, Gen V has completely destroyed the idea of a hero. What's left are survivors. Flawed, scarred, angry, but still fighting. That's the emotional center of episode 7, not who wins or loses, but who still tries. And finally, the visual theme that ties everything together, blood as identity. Throughout the episode, blood isn't just gore, it's meaning. It connects characters, reveals secrets, and defines power. The more Marie uses it, the more she realizes it's both her weapon and her history. It's a haunting symbol of how Vought owns every part of their creations, even what runs through their veins. By the end, when Marie stares at her hands, you understand the message. The future of the boys' universe isn't about fighting villains. It's about escaping the systems that create them. Episode 7, in all its chaos, is a mirror held up to power itself. It asks hard questions. what happens when heroes are just tools, when freedom is just another brand, when the next generation realizes they were never chosen, only engineered. The answers are uncomfortable, brutal, and real. That's what makes Hell Week unforgettable. It's not just a story of destruction, it's a warning. Power doesn't just change people, it reveals who they've always been. And as The Boys Season 5 approaches, it's clear that the biggest war won't be between humans and supes. It'll be between truth and the lies we tell ourselves to survive.